Hello, can you hear me? Hi, everyone. Come on in. When you join, when everyone gets here, I'll get started. Hi, guys. Welcome. I'm so glad you are here. We are going to get started in just a minute. I know everyone's time is valuable, so I really want to get straight to our lesson and get to the questions at the end. Everyone, as you are joined, you are on mute, and we'll try and keep it that way until the end of class, where I'll take questions and you can take yourself off mute and ask away or type your questions in the chat box. So I'm going to give it just one more minute and then we will get started. I'm leaving it open. There's no waiting room. So I'm going to go ahead and get started because, again, your time is valuable and I want to make sure that we have time to get to questions. I am recording this, just so you know. For anyone who misses it, I'm going to offer that to them as well. So I'm going to go ahead and oh, it's already recording. That's awesome. Okay. Here we go. Okay, thank you for your patience. Just getting started here. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Okay, thank you for your patience as we get started. Okay, everyone, hopefully you can see my screen. If you can't, please let me know. Okay, here we go. Hi, okay, so this course is created and presented by myself, Rachael Hutchins. I am a Lamaze certified childbirth educator. I am a DONA trained doula, and I am the owner of Your Birth Site. I am not a doctor or a midwife. This information provided here is for a normal, healthy, and singleton pregnancy. Each pregnancy and birth is unique and will unfold differently. Most births, when left alone or minimally interfered with, will occur safely, smoothly, and without complication. However, it is important to consult with your care provider prior to your birth to ensure that your questions, concerns, and preferences are addressed. My goal is to educate, motivate, and empower you towards having a safe, healthy, and positive birth experience. So, hello and welcome to this mini course on the 3 main stages of labor. Today, we will discuss each stage of labor, including pre-labor, signs of labor, how to measure labor progress and fetal station, as well as what you may be feeling or what you may experience at each stage, and how to facilitate labor progress, comfort, and relaxation for a safe and healthy birth. I am so excited to share this with you tonight. Please post any questions that you have in the chat box, and I will answer them at the end of this class. So if I'm going along and you have a question, put it in the chat box or write it down if you want to ask it at the end of class. But at the end, I'll go to that chat box and I will go through those questions and get as many of them answered as I can. Let's see, and that will be at the end. So I'm going to go through the whole presentation and I'll get to the questions at the end. Are you ready to dive in? Let's get started. Okay, so tonight we will begin with signs of labor. Something I tell many mamas is to Ignore it, being labor, until you can't ignore it any longer. Basically, keep yourself distracted and carry on with normal everyday life until you can't not focus on the contractions any longer. What does it mean to let labor begin on its own? The natural start of labor usually means that your body and your baby are ready for birth. One of the last organs to develop is your baby's lungs. When the baby's lungs are finished developing, they release a hormone, prostaglandin, that hangs out in your cervical mucus, causing the cervix to soften, and this initiates labor. This means the baby is ready to be born. How to tell false labor from real labor contractions? So some of you may have heard of Braxton Hicks, or they're also known as practice contractions. You will feel these in the low abdomen, or you may feel them as a full tightening of the abdomen. They can occur throughout pregnancy and especially during late pregnancy. They are practice contractions, but they don't change the cervix. These typically increase with activity. So if they are occurring frequently for you, this is a sign you need to hydrate and rest. So take a warm bath, elevate your feet, and drink a big glass of water, and they should subside. If they don't subside, then this could be the start of real labor. You may or may not experience Braxton Hicks. So not having Braxton Hicks doesn't mean that, anything. Or if you have them a lot, that also doesn't necessarily indicate anything. It's just a symptom of pregnancy. So effective contractions or real contractions, these are felt all over and they go down and they may feel like strong menstrual cramps. These contractions begin to change the cervix. These typically will keep going regardless of what you are doing. Other signs labor is starting or nearing is a nesting urge. You may want to organize all the things, clean all the things, finish the nursery, buy the last baby items, pack the hospital bag. This is all very normal and many women experience it. So partners, if you are listening, be sure and support this natural tendency and help in any way you can. Another sign is bloody show. So this is pink, red, or bloody vaginal discharge. Another sign is the mucus plug. So this is a protective collection of mucus in the cervical canal, a thick plug of mucus that can release as you near the birth. You can use this plug multiple times, or it can come out slowly over time. You may have increased bowel movements, and this clears things out and makes more room for the baby. So how you may be feeling during this time, you might feel anxious, ready, worried, excited, uncertain, frustrated. The range of emotions is broad, especially if you are experiencing prodromal labor. If you're not familiar with this, this is labor that starts and stops before active labor begins. It's often called false labor. And this is a poor description. These contractions are real, but they tend to come and go, and labor may not progress, and the cervix may not be changing during prodromal labor. The best advice I can offer is to continue with your normal routine and day-to-day activities so that you aren't so focused on your labor, sometimes if you're too focused on the labor, the stress ends up inhibiting the onset of labor. I encourage mamas to write down several activities that you like to do. You can use the alphabet, so like an A to Z list, and try to come up with as many activities as possible and save this sheet for when you are in late pregnancy or early labor, and choose some of the activities to do to help you stay busy and distracted and to stay active too. Try to use this time in late pregnancy and early labor to rest as much as you can. Your body needs to conserve energy for the big day. Listen to your body. If you feel like resting, rest. If you have some energy and feel up for it, go for walks, do some yoga, stretching, cooking, nesting, whatever feels good to you. So when will my water break? Many women, especially first-time moms, or if you've had a baby before but your water didn't break, you may wonder, when will my water break? Do you feel like you have a perception about how your water will break based on stories you have heard or seen in the movies or on TV? I used to think when a woman's water broke, it would be a huge gush and that you would run to the hospital in a panic and have the baby in a hot second, and that was it. Has anyone else thought that before? Well, here I will share with you information on what is normal, healthy, and safe so you can confidently know what to expect as you approach the birth of your baby. Did you know that your water may or may not break before labor starts? 15% of women will have their labor begin without their water breaking. Also, your water may break and contractions may not start right away. Both are normal. Your water may break with a trickle. You may wonder if you just peed on yourself, or you might feel unsure if your water has broken or not. To test this, I recommend going to the bathroom, empty your bladder, and then do some side-to-side lunges. If liquid continues to trickle out, then it's likely your water has broken. You can also smell it. I know this might feel like too much information, but if it smells like urine, it's urine, and you know that's all it is. If it doesn't really have a smell, it's likely the amniotic fluid in your water has broken. Your water may break in a pop and a gush. This is normal too. It's important to understand the variations of normal and what to do with each different situation. If your water breaks at home, be sure to assess these 4 things: color, odor, amount, and time. So the acronym is COAT: color, odor, what did I say? I just said it. Color, odor, amount, and time. You can write this down somewhere as a way to remember what to do if or when your water breaks and you are not at your birth location. So it can be a useful tool to assess how things are going, and your provider will appreciate this information as well. Warning signs to look out for. So if the color is brown, bright red, or split pea soup, then call your provider and head to the hospital. Or if the odor is like that of body odor, then call your provider and head to the hospital. Understanding what is normal, healthy, and safe is my goal for you. When you know what is normal, healthy, and safe, you can be better prepared and feel more confident as your labor begins. So here's a quick overview of the stages of labor. There are 3 main stages. Stage 1 has 3 parts: early, active, and transition. Whoops, sorry, I went ahead. Stage 2 is pushing, and stage 3 is delivering the placenta. The next several slides will cover each stage in detail. Pre-labor can possibly last or start 1 to 2 weeks before the birth. This is when you have inconsistent contractions, possible dilation and effacement may occur. You may feel extra tired and the nesting urges increase. You may be wondering, when will my baby be born? During this time, try to slow down and soak it all in. Rest and relax when you can. Cook extra meals and store them in the freezer. Hydrate and eat well. Take walks outside. Try to enjoy this time as best you can and trust your baby will be born soon. Do that A to Z activity that I mentioned earlier. Think of some things to do that will keep you busy and moving and distracted during this time. Alternate between resting and activity. Walking is a simple and effective way to help labor progress. Doing lunges up and down the stairs and side to side can be helpful. Sit on a yoga ball. Do figure 8s or rock side to side. Doing the yoga pose of cat and cow or child's pose can be beneficial as well. Practicing deep restorative breathing can help you to relax and send oxygen to your baby and the rest of your body. While sleeping, be sure and rest on your side with a leg up on a pillow. This can help to keep your pelvis open and take pressure off the sacrum. Another part of understanding the sensations, discomfort, and pain we experience during labor is to also understand what is happening inside of our body and with our baby as labor progresses. So here we will discuss labor progress and fetal stations. So I remember with my first baby having 0.00 clue about what these things were except for maybe dilation. But even at that, I didn't fully understand what it meant and what facilitates labor progress and how it is all connected. I would just nod my head, but internally I felt clueless. So just know I've been there. For most, it is helpful to understand what is happening inside of your body as your baby is descending, your pelvis and hips are opening, and your vagina begins to stretch open for the baby to descend and be born. It is also helpful to know that these processes take time. and the ways to work with your body and baby to ensure that labor starts and keeps progressing in a normal, healthy, and safe way. Knowledge is key to an empowered birth. So here I'm sharing with you as much knowledge as I can to help you feel prepared and confident as you approach your birth. So next, I would like to share with you the 5 ways that progress during labor is measured and determined. First is cervix dilation. This is when you go from 0 to 10 centimeters. And I have a nice fruit chart here showing a size comparison of what that looks like. Second is cervical effacement, which starts at 2 centimeters and is measured from 0 to 100%. This is also referred to as thinning out. I have included an image here showing how the cervix thins out as the baby's head applies good pressure to the cervix. Third is cervical consistency. So a simple example to keep in your mind is to compare it to your nose and cheek. Partners, if you're listening, this is okay for you to try too. So, okay, now with your pointer finger, touch your nose, press gently. This is what your cervix feels like during pregnancy. Now touch your cheek. This is what your cervix feels like during labor. Cool, right? So next, the 4th way is fetal station. This is the best indicator of progress. So you may hear your doctor or midwife say things like -2 or 0 station or +1. The full range is -3 to +3. And -3 means the baby is floating, still high up in the pelvis. And +3 is when the baby is crowning. The 5th and last way we will discuss is the direction of the cervix. This is pretty straightforward. So during pregnancy, your cervix points towards your back, and during labor, your cervix will be pointing down. Now that you understand how labor progress is measured, let's dive into the 3 main stages of labor. There are 3 main stages of labor, and stage 1 is from 0 to 10 centimeters and is broken into 3 sections. The first section of stage 1 is early labor and is when you are dilating from 0 to 6 centimeters. This can last 8 to 24 hours and is typically the longest part of your labor. Contractions have begun and may be irregular in frequency, length, and intensity. You may experience increased vaginal discharge, increased bowel movements, cramping or tightening of your abdomen. You may have bloody show, which is the pink, red, or bloody vaginal discharge. This is a positive sign the cervix is changing, opening, and or thinning. If you experience heavy bleeding or period-like bleeding, call your provider right away. You may lose your mucus plug, which is the thick cervical mucus that surrounds the cervix and protects the uterus from infection and unwanted bacteria. Your mucus plug is usually very thick and in a big clot. It may be clear, yellowish, or have a pinkish red color to it. The mucus plug is a positive sign of labor progress and indicates changes in the cervix. However, it is good to know that the mucus plug can come out, and if labor doesn't start right away, your body may create another mucus plug, which can then come out again as the cervix continues to change. If this part of your labor is taking longer than you hoped or expected, you may feel frustrated and uncertain, wondering when your labor will pick up and when your baby will be born, and that is perfectly normal. Try to remind yourself of what you have learned and that this can be the longest part of labor, and that is normal, healthy, and safe for the first part of the first stage to take between 8 and 24 hours. During this time, rest and relax when you can, hydrate and eat food that sounds good to you, empty your bladder frequently, take a warm bath or shower, diffuse some calming essential oils like lavender or citrus. Additionally, you can take a walk outside, go to the grocery store to get food for your labor and postpartum, get your things ready, pack your bag, meditate, stretch, or do some yoga, spend time outside, soak in the moments with your partner and your kids if you have them, keep your birth support team updated, stay positive and remind yourself you can do this. You may also find it beneficial to read some positive birth affirmations to remind yourself of what you, your baby, and your body are capable of. At each stage of labor, a simple and accessible tool that you can use to help you relax and stay calm and focused is your breath. Start practicing on your breath now during pregnancy. The easiest way to do this is to take a slow and steady inhale for 4 to 6 seconds and then exhale for 6 to 8 seconds. If you're raising your shoulders on that inhale, you're not taking a deep enough breath. Start with just 4 seconds in and 4 seconds out. Close your eyes while doing this and focus inward. You will feel calmer and more focused when you do this during labor. Okay, labor has started. Now you may be wondering, when should I head to my birth location? A good time to head to the hospital or your birth center, wherever you're having your baby, is when your contractions are getting stronger, longer, closer together using the 4-1-1 or 5-1-1 rule of thumb. A contraction is measured from the beginning of a contraction to the beginning of the next contraction. This is how far apart they are. So looking for contractions every 4 minutes, lasting 60 to 90 seconds, and doing this for at least 1 hour, this is the 4-1-1. The 5-1-1 is the same thing, but when contractions are every 5 minutes apart. This is a good indicator that you are moving out of early labor and into active labor, which is around 6 centimeters. Did you know that arriving at the hospital at 6 centimeters or later takes your risk for cesarean surgery to 5%? Arriving at the hospital at this point in labor means you're less likely to receive other unnecessary interventions. I need to make an important note here. This is just a guideline. You should be in contact with your provider regularly and assess as you go along and make an informed and shared decision about when to head to your birth location. Trust your intuition and go when you feel you are ready. My goal is to provide information and tools to help you better understand what is normal, healthy, and safe during labor. An important component to this is to talk with your provider ahead of time and ensure they support the normal physiological birth process and that they understand your desires for your birth and that they answer any questions you have about your care in a respectful, evidence-based manner. Anything outside of normal or that doesn't feel right to you must be addressed accordingly to ensure the safety and health of both mom and baby. The second part of stage 1 is active labor, and this is when you're dilating between 6 and 8 centimeters. You'll have regular contractions lasting 3 to 5 minutes apart and lasting for about 60 to 90 seconds each time. And this part of labor might be 2 to 6 hours. During this time, you may experience intense, frequent contractions. Contractions will continue to become stronger, longer, and closer together. You may have an increased need for support and need to concentrate on the contractions. You may have increased bloody show. You may start to have pressure in your lower back. You may start to feel a little more fearful, scared, or uncertain. If you have a doula or support person, this is when you may need more support from them. You will find it more difficult to have a conversation or answer questions during contractions. You'll be very focused during contractions. During this time, you'll want to try a variety of positions, alternating between rest and activity. Keep moving as much as you can. Your body will want to be tense, and moving may not feel like something you want to do because you may be fearful of the pain. This is normal, but try to move through the contractions the best you can. Work to find a position that is most comfortable to you. If you have an epidural, you can still move during labor. This is super important to know. You can labor on your side with a peanut ball. With extra support, you can use the squat bar on the hospital bed. You can get into the hands and knees position, or you can try leaning over the back of the bed. Having an epidural does not mean you have to labor and birth on your back. Work with gravity. Be upright when possible. Try taking a warm bath or shower to relax. Empty your bladder frequently to continue to make room for the baby. Hydrate and eat what sounds good to you. Some hospitals restrict food intake, but this is not evidence-based. Typically during this stage, you will instinctually not want to eat. So that is why it's important to eat nutritiously dense food that is easy to digest in the hours and days leading up to the birth. Dehydration and weakness from not eating and drinking regularly throughout the course of labor can cause the labor to slow down or stall, increasing the need to augment or speed up the labor. Some other things you can try is to use the bathroom as a birth cave. This is quiet, private, and dark and can help you relax. Labor on the toilet. This naturally relaxes the sphincter, which helps the cervix to dilate. Another tool is to relax your jaw. So there's a correlation that relaxing the jaw also relaxes the sphincter, therefore helps the cervix dilate. Stay present and in the moment, taking one contraction at a time. Work to stay positive and remind yourself you can do this. If you have a doula, they can really help during this time. If you don't have a doula, be sure and talk with your partner or whomever will be with you to remind them that this is an important time to stay positive and give you lots of encouragement and words of affirmation like, you can do this. You are doing a great job. You are strong. You are working with your baby. You are amazing. You are beautiful. Take one contraction at a time, like a wave. Ride the wave as it builds up and then slowly wash it away. This is a great time to remember to use your simple and effective tool that you can do at any point. Does anyone remember what this is? It is your breath. Remember, deep inhale for 4 to 6 seconds and deep exhale for 6 to 8 seconds. When you start to feel panicky or fearful, or you're having a difficult time staying on top of the contractions, return to your breathing. This is the best tool to stay calm and focused throughout your entire birth. And it sends oxygen to your baby and the rest of your body, which is super important. Okay, so now we will discuss the third part of stage 1 of labor, which is transition. And this is when you dilate between 8 and 10 centimeters. Your contractions are about 2 to 3 minutes apart or less and lasting 60 to 70 seconds. This portion of your labor may last between 30 minutes to 3 hours. You may have an increased need for emotional support. You may experience an increase in bloody show. You may start to have the urge to push. You may experience pressure in your rectum and have the urge to poop. You may have low back pain and or pressure. You may be shaky, cold, hot, nauseous, and you may even vomit. This can be the toughest part of labor, and you may have feelings that you can't go on, or you may say, I can't do this. I have witnessed so many women get to this point of surrender, and they almost always say, I'm done, I can't do it anymore. And I know this means they are very close to the end. During this time, you should change positions frequently and in a way that feels good to you. Just keep moving. If you have an epidural, labor on your side using a peanut ball to keep your hips and pelvis open. Also, if you have an epidural with support, you can try the hands and knees position or lean over the back of the bed to get in a gravity-friendly position. Usually with an epidural with some support, if you can get your legs under you, you can usually support yourself. Continue to empty your bladder regularly, as this can help make room for the baby to continue descent. Stay present and in the moment, taking one contraction at a time. Ride those waves and let them wash away when they are done. During this time, the birth canal is stretching. This can be very intense. Try to remember the contractions are strong because they are working with your body to bring the baby down and out. Work to visualize your baby descending and about to come out. Continue to use your breath to stay focused and calm during transition. The intensity and fear and pain will be at its peak during transition. Using your breath to center yourself and send oxygen to your baby and body will help you to stay calm and focused during this intense time. Remember, you are so close, Mama. Keep going. Okay, so that is the end of our discussion on stage 1. Next, we will learn about stage 2, which is the pushing stage. You have the hardest and longest part of labor behind you at this point, and it is time to push your baby out and into your arms. At this point, you will start to feel more proactive as you see the light at the end of the tunnel. You will feel a renewed sense of strength and power over bringing forth your new baby. Dilation is complete. You are 10 centimeters. Contractions are 2 to 5 minutes apart, lasting for 60 to 70 seconds. Pushing may last for 10 minutes or 3 hours. It is safe to push longer than 3 hours if there are no other medical complications. This stage is typically longer for first-time moms or if you have an epidural. You may feel pressure in your rectum like you have to poop. This is perfectly normal and happens for most women. You will certainly have an increased natural urge to push, sometimes uncontrollable even. Baby's head will crown, creating a stretching or burning sensation referred to as the ring of fire, and this is very intense. Contractions may slow down during this time, providing longer breaks in between to allow you a chance to rest and get energy back. Some women may even doze off in between contractions at this point. This is the definition of a power nap. During this time, you may start to shift out of the I am done, I quit mode and into a proactive role because you know you're about to be done and meet your baby. During this time, position changes can help with descent of baby's head. Stay upright if possible and avoid lying on your back, as this closes your pelvis by 30%. Follow your own instinct to push. Use deep breathing and guttural moaning to keep the energy flowing down into your baby. When we send the energy down and deep, it can prevent us from feeling panic and from hyperventilating. Some positions to push in include squatting. You can do this on the bed with a squat bar or on the floor, a supported squat or dangle, hands and knees, semi-sitting, side lying. I don't know if y'all can see that right, sorry. Side lying with one knee up and supported by yourself or your partner, nurse, or doula. Using a rebozo or sheet for counter pressure. Anything that you can pull on to help create a counter pressure will help you send the energy down and push effectively. Envision pulling on a rope where there is resistance on the other end. This sends pressure down and out. Sitting on a U-shaped stool or seat, also known as a birth stool. If you need to be on your back for something like high blood pressure, or if you have an epidural, you can lay on your back and tilt slightly to the side. You can also lay completely on your side with one leg supported in the air. With additional support, you can also use the squat bar in the bed, or you can assume hands and knees or lean over the back of the bed. These are all safe and effective ways to push when you are more restricted to the bed or need to be on your back. Another possible way to understand birthing positions is whether the body weight is on or off the sacrum or the large tailbone at the base of the spine. Positions that take the weight off the sacrum and allow the pelvis to expand might make spontaneous birth, this is birth without the use of vacuum or forceps, more likely. Positions that place body weight on the sacrum, reducing the opening of the pelvis, and that should be avoided if possible include the supine position, which is lying flat on your back and with the head slightly elevated, and the lithotomy position, which is lying on your back in a supine position with hips and knees flexed, thighs apart, and legs supported in raised stirrups. Some care providers prefer the supine or lithotomy position, as this is more convenient for them to assist in the birth as well as monitor the baby. However, we know that birth can take place safely in many positions, and it should be the woman's choice for the position she uses during the birth. We also know that the baby can continue to be safely monitored in a variety of positions. Next, we will discuss the third and final stage of labor, which is delivering the placenta. You have done all the work, waiting, anticipating, worrying, and dreaming about the moment your baby will finally be in your arms, and now that moment has come. The first moments after your baby is born are pure euphoria as you are meeting your baby for the first time. As the intensity of your birth washes away and you start to adjust and come back down, you are now distracted by your new baby's tiny fingers and toes and eyes and nose. Even though you have made it through labor and delivery, your job isn't quite over yet. The final stage of labor is the delivery of the placenta. For the placenta to detach from the uterus and for the bleeding to slow and then stop, your uterus needs to continue to contract. These contractions will not be as intense as late labor, but they will be uncomfortable. The placenta is usually delivered between 10 and 30 minutes after the baby is born. During this time, barring any medical complications, you should lay skin to skin with your baby on your chest. Skin to skin contact helps boost oxytocin, which is the love hormone. This helps the uterus to contract, which helps the placenta to detach from the uterus and minimize your bleeding. You will continue to have contractions or after pains after the placenta is born as the uterus shrinks down to its normal size. Breastfeeding helps this process by releasing oxytocin, causing contractions and shrinking the uterus to its normal size. You may notice that your after pains increase when you breastfeed. This is normal, healthy, and beneficial. Your care provider may rub, knead, or press on your abdomen to help the uterus to contract and to ensure it stays firm as it shrinks back down. This is very uncomfortable, but necessary to ensure the bleeding is minimized. If your uterus is not contracting effectively during this time, your provider may recommend a shot of Pitocin to help increase and strengthen the uterine contractions to get the bleeding to stop. That is the end of our discussion on the three main stages of labor. Next, I will provide some additional information and resources and then answer questions you may have. All right, so be sure and check your email after the class for a free infographic on the three main stages of labor. It's a one-page kind of quick reference for you. Next is stay in the loop and get more information by following me on Instagram at yourbirthsite_Rach or on Facebook by joining the Nurture Life community. I use these platforms the most to share about upcoming classes as well as tips, tools, and resources for pregnancy, childbirth, and postpartum. Do you want to learn more? Do you want to know how to have a safe, healthy, and positive pregnancy and birthing experience? You can do this by taking the full Nurture Life online childbirth education course. This is a new 4-week session beginning September 4th. Learn more and get signed up at yourbirthsite.com. My childbirth education course is rooted in the 6 principles for a safe and healthy birth developed by Lamaze International. To learn more about these principles, check out the book, I have it here, Giving Birth with Confidence, the 3rd edition, can you see that? By Judith Lothian and Charlotte DeVries. This is a great resource and very helpful in learning more about having a safe and healthy birth. That is the end of this course. I'm going to close the PowerPoint presentation and then take questions via the chat box, or you can ask them live if you would like. Let me see. Okay, looks like there's no questions in the chat box, and we have, let me see. We have right at 4 minutes left. So if anyone has any questions, oh, thank you, Bert. Thank you, SK. I would happy to answer any questions, or if we run out of time and you think of something later, definitely feel free to email me. My email address is rach@yourbirthsite.com. Happy to continue supporting you that way. Otherwise, if no one has any questions, we can go ahead and end this. Thank you again, everyone, for being here. Look out for the email with the free printable for the 3 stages of birth, or 3 stages of labor, the quick reference. Thank you, Rachel. Oh, I'm so glad you found that helpful. I'm so happy to have done this with you guys. Have a great evening. Bye, everyone.